If you think NEPA ends once the ROD is issued, think again. Writing and signing the decision document does not signal the end of the NEPA process. So, post-record of decision, there is still work to be done. Let's take a look at this. Many EISs use monitoring to provide assurance that the decisions of the EIS are being adhered to and carried out. If mitigation is necessary, monitoring will be required and the lead agency will be responsible for oversight of the monitoring and making the results of the mitigation available to the public if requested. Section 1503.3 lists what the agency will do as part of implementing the record of decision. This includes appropriate conditions in grants, permits, and other approvals, condition funding of actions on mitigation, upon request informing cooperating and commenting agencies on the progress in carrying out mitigation measures which they have proposed and which were adopted by the agency making the decision, and also upon request making available to the public the results of relevant monitoring. Mitigation has become an important tool because it minimizes potential adverse environmental impacts when implementing a NEPA action. CEQ recognizes 5 ways for mitigation to help. These are avoiding impacts by not implementing parts of an action, minimizing impacts by limiting the degree or magnitude of the action and its implementation, and rectifying an impact by fixing the affected environment. The fix can be a repair, rehabilitation, or restoration of the affected area. Agencies can also reduce or eliminate an impact over time by using preservation and active management/maintenance operations over the life of the action, and finally, compensate for an impact by providing substitute resources of environments. The 2011 CEQ guidance on the use of mitigation discusses its importance under NEPA in 3 contexts. Mitigation incorporated into project design, which relies on mitigation to reduce adverse impacts as part of the planning process. Mitigation alternatives considered in EAs and EISs where the decision is whether or not to commit to doing the mitigation, and mitigation commitments analyzed in EAs to support a mitigated FONSI. The CEQ guidance document also discusses how to ensure mitigation commitments are implemented. In doing this, emphasis is placed on having clear documentation of mitigation commitments and identifying the commitments to mitigation measures designed to achieve environmentally preferable outcomes. There are 4 means of ensuring that mitigation commitments are implemented. The first is establishing a mitigation monitoring program. It must meet legal requirements, identify ways to improve the monitoring program, and, in doing this, require agencies to use professional judgment, not their emotions. The second is to track implementation of mitigation commitments to determine if they are being performed as described. The third means of ensuring that mitigation commitments are implemented is monitoring the effectiveness of mitigation by tracking the success of mitigation efforts in achieving expected outcomes. And the last way is to provide the public with access to mitigation monitoring information. If the agency responsible for implementing the EIS is diligent, it will be able to determine when and if mitigation commitments are not being implemented or are not having the expected results. When these issues are detected, the agency needs to take action to remedy the problem. This can sometimes be avoided by not committing to the mitigation work when first proposed if the agency does not have the resources to do the work. If the problem is discovered once the plan has been implemented, the agency may have to conduct supplemental analyses. In this brief presentation, we have learned that even after the ROD is issued, there is often more work to be done as the approved action is implemented. The lead agency is responsible for qualifying the EIS so that the conditions for mitigation and monitoring are clearly understood. They must also provide the necessary oversight to ensure that all work is performed and documented. CEQ has advised agencies that they need to be realistic when committing to mitigation and monitoring programs, and only commit to actions that they can accomplish. And finally, agencies have options they can use to address the impacts of a proposed action, so they have some flexibility in the mitigation and monitoring process. The bottom line to all this, a good way to envision the ROD is as a contract with the public, committing the lead agency to implement mitigation and monitoring included in the project.